So these are the parts you're going to need to change your Kronos, Shogun, any long wheelbase into a KAGAMA. KAGAMA chassis, centre brace, drive dog bones, KAGAMA front and rear shock towers, hinge pin braces. As you see, they've got two different mounting holes here. These I actually took off my Asuga because I've upgraded the Asuga ones, and I will be upgrading this to the M2C ones eventually, but for now we're just going to use these. One blatant thing missing, which is the body. I'm going to stick with the Kronos body for now. We're going to get this put back together with all the bits I've taken off my Kronos, which will fit directly onto this. The first thing I want to do is get the motor mount in, and then the centre diff, and then the front and rear diffs, the drivetrain. Remember your Loctite if you're screwing into aluminium on. Centre diffs in there nicely. Next I'm going to attach my B and C blocks. Before I mount these to the chassis, I just want to add some lithium based grease. You don't need a ton on, so literally tiny little bit, and then just work it around, and that's about it. That's all you need, in my opinion. Some people will disagree, some people will agree. The more grease you put in, the more likely you are to pick up dirt and debris and grease. I'm just going to put a tiny bit more in there, but yeah, just a finger's worth. There we go, and it's all nicely coated now. Just quick tip, before you actually put the diffs on, you don't want to screw these in fully, but this end bit here goes into the chassis right here, and there's a bolt, so I recommend you get that bit on first, because these can slide in and out of the way, but that's really awkward to get in if you leave it till afterwards. As you can see, they're both screwed in now, but they're well out of the way, and it just makes life a lot easier. So I'm going to get the rear diff on first, then the front diff. So the next thing I want to do is get my steering in. I start off, the way I do it is I get my steering posts in first, get them in nice and tight, just slide that on, and then we'll put the centre brace on. One little trick I do is to keep the spring tension. I use a little 17mm wheel nut, and that stops this spring backing off, and it keeps your steering nice as you want it. If you want it tight or whatever tension you want it, keeps it nicely in there. Just a little trick. And there we go. And just make sure they are actually seated into the actual little grooves, and obviously Loctite on these as well. As you might notice, I've also upgraded to the KAGAMA steering as well, so you've got this extra bar here which gives it a little bit of extra added strength. Now it's time to put the centre brace on. I must admit, the actual setup of this, of the KAGAMA, compared to the Kronos and the Shogun is a lot simpler, especially when the centre brace comes in. It's just, there's a lot less parts to take off and bring in. It works really well. So what I like to do is first is just get my centre screws in first. You can get in there quite easily with these lifted up, and we'll screw these in. So that's all the centre brace put in, and the steering in as well. And just double check your steering, make sure you can see it's nice and smooth in there, no problems at all. But no play or slop, which is really nice. Should have really put this in before I put this in, but it's no issue. I can just unscrew this one here, slide it in, put it in, and this is obviously for your rear body mounts, and it ties into your shock tower as well. So next we'll get the front shock tower in. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws to get this tied in, and they're all 12mm M3s. So next I'm going to get the front arms in and the front hinge pin holders in, the A block, the arms. It does show that you're meant to use a washer for the back, so I'm going to use a spacer and just see how that fits first. Get both arms on, lower arms first, get the bottom hinge pin on, and then we'll do the upper arms. We've got the lower arms in, which is pretty cool. That's all nice and tied in now. There's not any slop, but they're moving nice and freely. I'm just going to get the upper arms in, and I need to make sure the spacers are incorrect. Looking at the instructions, the spacers go at the front of the arms rather than the rear, so push the arms back like that. All the front arms, upper arms, lower arms on. I've had to space the upper arms out a little bit, but luckily I had enough spacers to do that. So the next thing I need to do is get the shocks on and the body mounts. So obviously I need to take the shocks off my old shock tower and take the body mounts on off as well, which I've got on with a bolt because it stops them from shearing off. So yeah, we'll get these off and get them onto this, and then we can get to the rear end. Well, there we are. Got the front body mounts on, front shocks on. Really nice. Rear end done next, and then it's just a matter of putting the battery tray in and the electronics in, and we're all ready to go. Must say it's going together really easily, no major issues. Everything fits together nicely. So yeah, so far so good. Right, let's get this rear end done. So apparently with the KAGAMA, the rear rods are longer than the front ones, probably by like a mil. I've got both, so I'm going to try the long ones first, see if they fit okay. If they fit okay, great. If not, I can change them to the shorter ones. I don't know why they've done that, but hopefully it'll make sense when we start putting this together. So it doesn't show on the manual if there's any spacers on this, but they definitely need a couple of spacers, so I think I'm just going to put the spacers on this side. So that's the D block in there. I've only had to use 2.2mm spacers in the back, so, and that's in nicely and it's moving nicely, but there's no, as you can see, it's moving freely, but no play. So next I need to get the bolts in from underneath, get the rear skid plate on, get these attached, and then we've got the rear shock mount to go on. Right, so that's both the lower arms on. Now we just need to screw this in. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws there which go into the plastic, and then we've got some going into the aluminium. So again, we need to make sure we're using Loctite on them. Once that's in, I need to put the wing mount on that bit as well as I'm putting that in. I need to get the dog bones in there and then screw all this in from the bottom. And that's literally the car put back together then. It's just the electronics left. So let's get this all sorted out and then we'll move to the electronics and we're nearly done. Really chuffed with how this build is going, actually, really chuffed. Fingers crossed, nothing's gone wrong yet. That's the car mechanically fitted, everything together. So now it's just a matter of getting the servo in, the ESC in, battery tray in, the wing mounted, and then she's all ready to go. Absolutely went together really easily, really nicely, completely stress free, to be totally honest with you, which makes a nice change. So yeah, so it's just going to be getting those bits in, which I'll do now, and then putting the wheels and tyres on, fine tuning, making sure the geometry is all right, and then she's ready to rip, and I think we'll take her out. The wire, ESC wire, is going to catch just there because it's just behind the hole where it screws in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to Dremel a little slot out there so the ESC wire can just go straight through there and it doesn't interfere, it doesn't get like squashed down or anything like that. So I'm just going to do that off camera now. See there, I've just Dremeled out a little slot there, rounded it off. So now hopefully when that sits on there, the wire can go right through there. So I'll get this on next. There we go, all done. Got the body support back on, got the battery tray back in, ESC's in, power button goes right there, so the actual connector that you get with the centre brace on the old ones does fit on there directly. Got the wing on it, all ready to go. So I think the best thing to do is just stick some batteries in it and just test it, make sure it's all running all right. Right, batteries connected, let's make sure this is all alright. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's a good start. Steering's good. Sounds good. Well, there she is, all ready to go. That's probably the cleanest it'll be for a long time. Got the Debut 6S wheels and tyres on this. Next thing is take it out and give it a blast and see how it handles. Brand new track, so let's try the KAGAMA here and see how it handles this. Let's have some fun. Yes, as you may have guessed, we broke it on that last jump, but not as bad as you may think. Broke the wing mount, broke the front standoff, did bend the shock, but I've bent that back into place, and the front shock tower bent slightly. But apart from that, it stood up like a good one. I must admit, since moving it over to the KAGAMA format, it does seem to handle a little better than it did when it was a Kronos. Definitely jumps a little bit better, but really impressed. It really held on tight. The chassis is absolutely fine. All the hinge pins stayed in, even after that massive crash. So really impressed with that. Standoffs, I've tried the M2C ones. Obviously I've got the stock ones, and at the moment the new M2C M5s I may try. Also may try the Adu Racing ones, but I think that'll be for a future video. Yeah, everything else survived on this, no problems at all. Really happy that I made it up. Some of you might have noticed as well when I was building this that it's actually got the KAGAMA arms on it. They were already something that I'd put on and replaced onto my Kronos when they'd broke previously. I'll put a link below for all the parts that you will need. And then obviously you've got optional stuff like the arms. But yeah, it's definitely worth doing, I think, especially if you've got the Kronos XTR, which has all the upgraded drive cups anyway. But yeah, overall, really impressed. Looking forward to taking this out again. I think we're going out on this Sunday, and I'm going to do a video shortly on obviously the standoffs, because that is a weak point. But obviously, like I say, I've tried the M2C ones and they've broke as well. And the front shock tower I will be replacing with the M2C one as well. The 606 one is pretty good and it's pretty thick, but I think the 7075 M2C one will really make this a lot tougher. But apart from that, really held well together. Hope you enjoyed that video. Thank you for watching. Remember them thumbs up, remember to subscribe, and more videos coming very soon. Take care and happy RCing. Thank you.